Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's the deal? What's the deal? What's the deal? Get up and roll up with first hit, first down. I know we're a little late this morning, but we are here nonetheless. How you guys feeling today, man? We are in a good mood. We feeling the vibes today. We got some shit to talk about today, man. It was a lot of closely contested football games yesterday. It was some sloppy play yesterday on the offensive end from a lot of teams. Defenses came to play. We are in week 11, so the defenses are in midseason form. If you know what I'm saying, haven't seen that shit, man. Before we get started, as usual, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're following on all social medias everywhere. New Jersey Preem everywhere. Make sure you guys following and checking this out, man. How y'all doing today, bro? How y'all doing today? I'm doing great, as you can see. We're gonna talk about some games that happened yesterday, and we're gonna talk about this Monday night game that's happening tonight, where the Dallas Cowboys head to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. So as usual, let's get into today's agenda, and we're gonna talk about Sunday's game. Man, we had some dope ass game last week, and this is where I would like to start off at, right? So one of the main things that I've been having issues with when it comes to the NFL is how they've been, you know what I'm saying, covering certain teams, right? Covering the Bills, and then we're gonna do this, right? So here we go. We got the Bills. First of all, we are always live. We are always live. Check us out. You feel me? But did the Bills bounce back? The Bills and the Buccaneers played a closely contested game all the way up basically until like the fourth quarter. Josh Allen was so close to being our first hit, first down player of the week. He probably should have been a player of the week, but those two turnovers got him knocked off the list by somebody that didn't have any turnovers at all. But Josh Allen had 6 goddamn touchdowns, 3 through the air and 3 on the ground. I have Josh Allen as my fantasy quarterback, so I was extremely happy of how well he played. What really stood out was the fact that, because remember, if y'all was here last week, I said you shouldn't have Josh Allen throwing the ball more than 40 times with this type of offense, because you don't really have any explosive players down the field, right? So let me go check and see how many times he threw that pill yesterday. For real, because I felt like he might have threw that joint just under 40 times just to make me right and shit. You know what I'm saying? I might be right, but I might be completely wrong too. That's what you get for running this risk, right? Yeah, he threw that bitch 30 times, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's through the air. But he also had 3 on the ground. He was balling yesterday. He made sure that team didn't lose, and I think they won by 12 points. So they was able to come back. Baker had a couple turnovers. Also, I think his turnovers was a little bit more costly just based off of when they came. You know, they came later in the game. So especially that fumble on that last drive, one of the last drives when he was trying to basically get his team back into the game. So, but the Bills defense came through when it absolutely had to. The Bills offense was being consistent. James Cook didn't run the ball that well. 16 rushes for 48 yards. He was averaging 3. But when you got the winter soldier, you know what I'm saying, in the backfield with you, a.k.a. Josh Allen, this motherfucker can give you 6 rushes, 40 yards, 6.7 yards a carry for 3 tutties. And it's hard to stop a quarterback, let alone a 6'5", 6'6", 230-pound quarterback that's running at you with ill intentions. You know what I'm saying? It's really hard to stop that type of vibe, for real. But I think that what we took away from this game was that Josh Allen refuses to allow his teams to lose back-to-back games. And Baker Mayfield is not as good as everybody was making him out this year. Now, I understand we're going to go to it, right? Because he had help. Unlike last week, when we was like, oh, he didn't have no running game, he didn't have this, that, and the third. Baker only threw for 173 yards. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Sean Tucker, their running back, he had 19 rushes for 106 yards and 2 tutties. Baker had a rushing touchdown on the ground also. Carlos Shepard was their leading receiver. Emeka, and you know I can't pronounce bro name properly or shit. He didn't have a game that he would normally have, but he had help, right? He had to help, especially on the ground this game. And for you to only throw the ball, I mean, only for, you know what I'm saying, 173 yards, either the Bills defense was really, you know what I'm saying, doing their thing, or Baker might be a little bit overrated. Might be a little bit overrated. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of overration, you know what I'm saying? We're not going to get there, but we do, you know what I'm saying? We do have some shit that we got to talk about when it comes to overrated players. And I'm going to just say this, fuck Bleacher Report. right now. I'm fuck Bleacher Report, nigga, right now. You know what I'm saying? But that was a good ass game. Like I said, Josh Allen balled his ass off, like 6 total touchdowns. Of course, like I said, those 2 interceptions, in my opinion, caused him the first hit first down player of the week. You know what I'm saying? That's just for me though. You guys make sure y'all let me know who y'all got as y'all player of the week this week. But the Bills did back, and they bounced back in tremendous fashion. One of the better teams in the NFL or the NFC. So shout out to them for doing what the hell they had to do, bro. For real, I'm not mad at them, for real. As we move on, we're gonna move on to one of the other games that we had this week, and one of my favorite players that's currently in the NFL. We move it on to the New York Giants and the Green Bay Packers. Jameis Winston is the best backup in the NFL, and it's not even on some shit like he's the best performing backup. I just like seeing Jameis Winston play. I just like seeing Jameis Winston on my TV on Sundays or Mondays or Thursdays. You know what I'm saying? I just like seeing that. Like, he's one of my favorite players to watch. And of course, he ended that game in the most Jameis Winston way by throwing that interception. Now, that interception that he threw in the end zone, you know what I'm saying, actually ended the game, right? I'm not getting percent, you know what I'm saying, blame on that. Fucking route was the receiver running. Hyatt, I think that's what was 13. He looked like he was supposed to be running like some type of 7 or a little out route, you know what I'm saying, going up the field, you know what I'm saying, making the whoever the DB or the safety think that you're going one way and you cut outside, you know what I'm saying, you cut out towards the pylon or whatever. And this motherfucker ran upfield and stayed upfield. By the time he was looking to turn, like to cut, to complete his route, the ball was already thrown and the DB went and got that shit. So I can't necessarily blame that shit on Winston. I blame the receiver for running a half-ass route, for real. That's what I blame. Like, but Jameis came out there and was able to spark some life into the Giants offense without Jackson Dart being available for his concussion. 4 concussions in the season for Jackson Dart is wild. We talked about this last week. I said that he had 2 in the last 4 weeks. I didn't know he had 4 total. So that's crazy. But Jameis is back being in, you know what I'm saying, back starting in the NFL, and I'm extremely happy for it. I'm extremely happy for it. You know, when there's certain players, and look, even when it comes down to Dallas, like if Jameis was on the Cowboys and something happened to Dak Prescott, of course Jameis is one of my favorite players. I understand that it's gonna be feast or fathom with him, but I'm willing to take those chances because he's just that much fun to watch and shit. Shout out to Jameis Winston, for real, bro. But before we get into our next topic, I touch on something that happened yesterday in the Browns and the Baltimore Ravens game. So in that game, around halftime, well, actually after halftime, Shador Sanders made his career professional debut, you know what I'm saying, in the regular season when he came out as the starter in the second half of the Cleveland and Baltimore game. Now, y'all would think, oh, well, maybe because Dylan Gabriel was having a bad first half, and that's why, well, he wasn't having a great first half, but he, you know what I'm saying? He had some type of head injury or concussion protocol. They put him in concussion protocol. And Shador Sanders came out as the starter in the second half. Like most people, I was extremely happy, extremely hyped for this shit. Then it dawned on me, like, oh man, they setting bro up. How many reports have came out? Shador is not getting no snaps with the first team offense. Shador is not getting no practice reps. You know what I'm saying? No goddamn scout team reps. Like, Shador is just basically there and shit, right? This game against the Ravens, it made me think about this. The tickets was on sale for $6. You playing the Baltimore Ravens. You playing a 2-time MVP. Got Derrick Henry over there too. We didn't even talk about, you know what I'm saying, Myles Garrett, who had 3 fucking sacks in the first half. Wow, crazy, right? But you selling your tickets, the Cleveland Browns selling their tickets for $6 because they can't put asses in seats because of the people that they have in their front office and on the field, right? So they start Shador for the second half, hoping, in my opinion, that Shador gives them some type of energy and some type of boost. The issue is Shador don't work with the first team. The first team don't work with Shador. Offensive line was fucking, look, Dylan Gabriel was out there running for his life, hence the concussion, right? Shador came in, because I had his stats and I had it written down somewhere, but now I just look it up on my phone, right? But Shador came in, he went like 4 for 16 for 2 turnovers and I think he was sacked 3 times, right? Their offensive line is so fucking bad. It was one play that the offensive lineman was blocking one dude. It was 3 offensive linemen lined up on one side, one dude rushing the tackle. The guard and the center was just sitting there blocking air, bro. That shit was pissing me the fuck off. That shit was pissing me off, bro. Lamar Jackson had a bad game that game too. Yeah. Shador Sanders, 4 for 16, 47 yards, 1 interception, 1 fumble. And I can't necessarily even think about blaming him for his performance. You get thrown in there in the second half of a game that you didn't think that you would necessarily be in, because it was a closely contested game. So if anything, if Dylan Gabriel was available to come back out, there's no doubt in my mind that Kevin Stefanski, whatever the fuck I used to say that nigga name, there's no doubt in my mind that he would have put Dylan Gabriel back out there. So you threw him out there in the middle of a game that was closely contested against one, you know what I'm saying, one of the best teams in the AFC's, definitely one of the best teams in your division. And y'all didn't protect that man at all. Now, like I said, y'all they wasn't protecting Dylan Gabriel too, so I'm not trying to make it seem like it's just a Shador Sanders thing. You know what I'm saying? But the issue is you're putting these players in these positions and you're not really helping these motherfuckers, bro. You're not helping none of these people. The Cleveland Browns is the worst ran organization in the NFL. And this is coming from a fucking Dallas Cowboy fan. like that's the worst. That's the worst fucking ran organization, franchise, whatever how you want to call it, in the NFL, bro. The way that they have been doing their quarterback position for the last 40 years, like fucking horrible, bro. But Shador came out. He didn't have a great showing in the 2 quarters that he was playing, and can't necessarily blame him for none of the shit that he was doing. If Dylan Gabriel was out this week, hopefully we see Shador get a full week's rep of, you know what I'm saying, work with the first team and getting some, you know what I'm saying, type of comfort with the game plan and the play calling. Hopefully we see that bullshit, man. But to continue these games that we saw out to the Jacksonville Jaguars, the reason why we got to give a shout out to the Jacksonville Jaguars is because last week we sat here on this show and shitted on the Jacksonville Jaguars for allowing the Houston Texans to go 26-0 in the fourth quarter, meaning that the Texans scored 26 unanswered points in the fourth quarter alone of that game, which was a game that the Jacksonville Jaguars had in hand through 3.5 quarters. You know what I'm saying? So we gave him a lot of flack for that shit. So this week we're going to give him some love. We're going to give them some love because they came back and answered the bell. We watched how they performed last week, and I'm pretty sure it was, you know what I'm saying, not a good thing for them or those guys to have to deal with that shit. Back, you know what I'm saying, understanding that they let a motherfucking team come back on them and beat them, and not only beat them, but, you know what I'm saying, whip they ass in the fourth quarter 26-0. So this week they came out with a little bit of a vengeance, if you will, against the Los Angeles Chargers. We got to talk about the Chargers. I understand that the Chargers is missing their top 2 offensive linemen, right? 100% understand that. You can't understate that, right? But the more as I think about it, I'm like, man, look, everybody is missing key pieces. Every team, the Eagles just lost in this past game, and we're gonna talk about that shit too. But the Eagles in this game against the Lions lost Lane Johnson, probably the best right tackle in the NFL, probably the best right tackle in NFL history, for real. Lane Johnson and I believe Mariota, whatever fuck how you say homeboy, Jordan name, the other tackle on the other side and shit. So you lost, and I think they was already down their center. So you down your 3 top linemen. I might be completely wrong about this, but I do remember both of those guys, 2 of their linemen leaving the game last night. They probably came back, but the point I'm making is everybody is injured. Y'all know earlier in the season, Dallas was without 4 of his 5 starting linemen. And Dak had some of his greatest games, with, you know what I'm saying, with that. So we can't keep giving Justin Herbert and this offense passes because of that. You work that pocket. You move up, through, and out the pocket. You let the ball go quick. Throw some shit, you know what I'm saying, that's going to help your team get, you know what I'm saying, get shit going faster. Underneath shit. Hitches. Screens. You know? Running the ball more. And that's a hardball-led team. We already know that he loves to run the ball, so let's run the ball a little bit more. Y'all should have made a move during the trade deadline and get you a true number one receiver. Because ain't no point in having the talent that you have at quarterback if you don't have nobody to throw the shit to. Y'all got a nice tight end. He's coming on. I forgot bro name, but he's coming on. But you definitely need somebody on the outside. Keenan Allen is Keenan Allen at the end of the day, but he's definitely an older version of himself. You needed somebody. I thought they was gonna go try to get Chris Olave, or you know what I'm saying, somebody that they can go like make their true number one receiver during the trade deadline. They didn't do that. And I think that's coming back to bite them in the ass because you can have the issues that you have on the offensive line as long as you know how to mask those issues. Like I said, quick game, running the fucking ball, get the ball into the hands of your playmakers early in the downs and shit. Stay ahead of the sticks. It's shit that you can do to help your offensive line when they're struggling. Leave a tight end in to help protection wise. Stay out of 11 personnel and go into a heavier set. There's some things that you can do to help your offensive line when you're struggling. I don't think the Chargers is trying to do that. The Chargers say we got Justin Herbert and we got John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh, whichever one it is. I can't never remember those guys' names and shit. But we got those guys. We got him and we got the quarterback. They're going to make this shit work. And that's my issue. If you want these quarterbacks to make shit work, you got to give them the proper pieces around them to do that. Some of these guys can uplift a lot of people to a higher level. But even that is only to a certain level. You know what I'm saying? They not gonna Tom Brady and me and my co-host and I from the Wake and Bake podcast, shout out to Jay Will and shit. We talk about this a lot, right? Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time, or at least, you know what I'm saying? Like, for the sake of argument, we're gonna say he's the greatest quarterback of all time. There's not too many receivers that he actually made Hall of Famers. Julian Edelman is not a Hall of Famer. Danny Amendola is not a Hall of Famer. Randy Moss is, but he didn't, you know what I'm saying? He didn't play, he played a year and a half basically with Tom Brady. Gronk is definitely a Hall of Famer, but that's a tight end, not a receiver. So it's not too many receivers that he made a Hall of Fame material, but he made them great enough for them to win them motherfucking championships. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what I'm trying to get y'all to understand. Like, certain players can elevate other players, but you can only elevate them but so much. You know, they only going to be as great as they can be. They're never going to be as great as you are. Tom Brady was never the only time he had a player that he could throw the ball to that was as great as he was Randy Moss and shit. And they went undefeated and of course lost in the Super Bowl to the New York Giants. But Justin Herbert, I don't think that he's that good to make people that much better. So you're going to have to find ways to keep that man protected and allow him to do the things that he's really good at. And one of those things is probably going to 12 personnel, probably going to a heavier set, getting some extra blocking out there. Like the Rams is doing that shit. The Lions is doing that shit. I was watching a couple teams that went to like that was passing out of heavy personnel. The Chargers, not the Chargers, the fucking Seahawks. They do the same shit. You know what I'm saying? They come in with a heavy set and play action right out of that joint, and then we throwing this bitch deep. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you guys gotta be a little bit more creative on how you protecting your not only your quarterback but your offensive line too. You know that these motherfuckers is bad. So add some extra help to them, bro. That's all I'm saying. Shout out to the Jags. I know this was more so about the goddamn Chargers than the Jaguars. But shout out to the Jags because, like I said, last week we gave them a lot of flack for their performance against the Texans, and they answered the bell this week by playing people would consider is a better team and thoroughly whipping their ass. The Chargers put up 6 points total, and I believe that was 2 field goals. It wasn't even like a touchdown to miss miss extra point. Speaking of which, yo, yesterday, I understand on the East Coast, which I live on the East Coast. You guys live a lot of you guys live on the East. Yesterday, it was windy in the motherfucker, boy. Like it was like fucking field goal after field goal being missed, bro. All day yesterday, I was like shit, and then it was like this shit happened in real time, and I'm like, yo, why y'all keep going for like 60 plus yarders? And the wind is blowing 30 miles, you know what I'm saying, to the east and all that type of shit. Why y'all doing that? Why y'all doing that? Like that was horrible coaching all day yesterday when it came to understanding that this one is not going to allow us to kick long field goals. And they still kept, a lot of teams still kept lining up for that shit. But that's one of the things I noticed yesterday. That fucking win, boy, that one was crazy out. But as we continue to go on, we go in our game. We and shit. A lot of you guys are going to be shocked by this shit, right? But surprisingly, our game of the week is not the Buffalo Bills. This was the final score of that closely contested. It was a fun ass game. I watched this game with no intent to have fun at all. I thought it was going to just be a blowout like it was, and I think week 2 or week 3 when the Panthers went down there and beat Atlanta. Well, when Atlanta went to the Panthers and got their ass whooped, I think it was like 32-0 or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? But we got an entertaining ass game this past week, which is our first hit, first down game of the week. As you guys can see, the Carolina Panthers went to Atlanta, and those guys had a fucking heavyweight boxing match. And it's so funny because if you look at the stats on each side, you would think like, oh, this should have been a blowout, right? Wrong. Wrong, motherfucker. Because this is the NFC South, which means it's a divisional game. Anything can fucking go. We all know how we feel about that shit. But bro, Michael Penix Jr., as you guys can see, he was 13 for 16, 175 yards. He did leave the game with a knee injury. So that's why you can see that Kurt does have stats up there. Kirk Cousins, he was 6 for 14 for 48 yards. Bijan Robinson, as usual, came out and did his thing, 23 rushes for 104 yards, 2 tutties. Drake London is continuing to have a great season. Also, didn't have a touchdown this week, but he did in the game with 7 receptions for 119 yards. But when we go to the victors and you go over here and look at what happened with the Carolina Panthers, I want to talk about their young quarterback, and no pun intended when it comes to Bryce Young. 31 for 45, 448 yards, and 3 tutties, no turnovers. No semblance. I think his running backs total had 64, 65 yards rushing total between both of the running backs. He had, of course, you know what I'm saying, if you're throwing for 400 plus yards, your receivers is going to get busy. But his main receiver was T-Mac with 8 receptions, 130 yards, and 2 tutties. Xavier Legette came through with 4 receptions, 83 yards, and a tutty. But Bryce Young was out there dealing that bitch, boy. He was out there tossing that pill. You know what I'm saying? Out here looking like prime Bill Cosby. You know what I'm saying? Tossing that motherfucker. He was tossing that pill, boy. I'm telling y'all. You don't and look, like, for the fact that, you know what I'm saying? Like, we just came off last week, and not to compare or you know what I'm saying, take anything away from them, but we just came off of last week where Baker Mayfield threw the ball for 40 plus yards, I think 40 plus times, 3 times, and he had 273 yards passing. Bryce Young threw that bitch 45 times, and he had 448 yards passing. That's the type of shit that I'm talking about. When you're gonna throw, if you're gonna be in one of those quote unquote shootouts, and you tossing the pill that much, and you throwing the ball that you know what I'm saying, that many times, you better have the goddamn stats to show for that bitch. You feel me? You better have the stats to show for that. And he balled out. He balled out. So shout out to Bryce Young. Shout out to the Carolina Panthers for looking as good as they've been looking this entire season. They're one of those teams that, of course, is hard to believe in because they're a younger squad and we don't know for sure if they're going to continue to stay consistent. But what we've been seeing through 11 weeks of play, they have been one of the better teams to watch. And they have been consistent to a point, of course, because they're a young team. So shout out to those guys. They balled out in our game of the week. Like I said, there's not too many people that I would look this week and say that they didn't deserve to be up here. I mean, they deserve to be up here when it comes to game of the week or player of the week. And the only person I would say is Josh Allen. When you get, like I said, when Brian coming through with 400 plus passing yards and 3 tutties and no turnovers, you got to show bro some respect. You got to show the Panthers some respect. The boys did what the fuck they were supposed to do this week, and they handled business. They swept the Panthers. I mean, they swept the Falcons in their season meetings and shit. So they're looking good in that AFC South. NFC South. They're looking good over there in the NFC South, right behind the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which we already talked about, and their loss to goddamn the Bills. But when you look at the Buccaneers and their schedule coming up, boy, they got next game is against the Rams. Right, their next game is against the hottest, maybe one of the probably the hottest team in the NFC, without a doubt. Excuse me, without a doubt, the Rams is probably the hottest team in the NFC going into Week 12 for real. So it's going to be a tough game for the Buccaneers next week. A tough game for the Buccaneers, but like shout out to our game of the week, which was Carolina. You know what? We want to just show that shit one more time, which was Carolina at the Falcons, and them boys balled out. So shout out to those guys right there for real. You know what I'm saying? And as we move on to Monday Night Football, y'all already know what type time I'm about to be on. Y'all already know what type time I'm about to be on. It's Monday Night Football. My boys is back and we playing. You know what I'm saying? My boys is back and we playing. We're going to get over here. Hold on. We're going to get over here for real. And we're going to talk about this game right here. We're going to talk about this game right here. Dallas Cowboys at the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday Night Football tonight. Now, before y'all think that I'm getting all hype and about to talk some shit, this is another one of those games when you look at how the Dallas Cowboys has been playing defensively that can go really bad for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, of course, we don't know how the Cowboys are going to play defensively in this particular game with the pieces that they have. Quentin Williams, from the trade. Logan Wilson from the trade. Demarion Overshawn coming back from injury. There's a lot of players that's coming back and being healthy. Trey Diggs is not one of them. But even though he's not one of them, Dallas is still a lot healthier and just a lot better than they were in Week 9. You know what I'm saying? So looking at this game, Dallas had the opportunity to prove one or two things. They have the opportunity to prove that the defense can and did improve, or they have the opportunity to prove the fact that this just is a bad fucking defense. And no matter who you have on that team, Matt Eberflus will find a way to fuck it up. So that's the two things that in my opinion, Dallas could prove, especially defensively in this game. You have the league leading, or you know what I'm saying, top 2 in interceptions coming in right now, and Geno Smith. Geno Smith has been giving the ball away, you know what I'm saying, this year, like, you know, like he's a humanitarian. He's just giving it away and shit. So this week, you're hoping that you can get a little bit more pressure, especially with that brand new toy that you have in the middle of your defense, hoping that you get instant pressure directly up the middle of the defense, to whereas though the quarterback has to make fast and rash decisions. We're hoping to do that. You do have some playmakers on the outside that can jump routes. We don't want them always trying to do that. But when you got the pass rush, you do have the opportunity to do a lot more of those for real. So hopefully Dallas can look a little bit better defensively to help them out. Offensively, I don't expect them to look too different than what they looked before. I know the last 2 weeks of like gameplay, not of course not including the bye, Dallas offense have been looking a little, you know what I'm saying, with the exception against Washington, I think. But Dallas offense has been looking a little questionable, inconsistent, if you will. But I think that's another thing that they can do. The Raiders defense is not the greatest defense in the league. They can rush the passer. Of course, they have one of the best pass rushers in the league with Max Crosby out there, but they're not really great at stopping the run. So Dallas can try to enforce their will in the run game. Devontae Williams, this could be a really big game for him. And then you can come back right off of that and attack them when they go man-to-man. When they have to bring, you know what I'm saying, the extra people down into the box to stop the run, that's when you allow Dak to be Dak and you allow those receivers to be those guys. You know what I'm saying? So I think offensively, we'd be straight. We'd be straight offensively. I'm really excited and really not saying nervous, anxious to see what this defense look like for real. That's what it is to me when it comes to Monday Night Football tonight. Before we get off of this subject, because I don't got too much to say about this shit, right? Because it's just all about waiting and seeing, in my opinion. Before we get off of this, I am going to give my picks because I did it last week and I was completely right with the Monday night game. when it came to the Eagles and the Packers. I'm trying not to pick with my heart and just, you know what I'm saying, be completely logical with my pick. And all in all, I'm still going to roll with the Dallas Cowboys. I think they're just the more talented team. If their defense can get any type of pressure, we're going to get a turnover or two. A turnover or two if Dallas Cowboys can get any type of pressure on goddamn Geno Smith. You feel me? So was our that's our Monday night thoughts and how we feeling about the game tonight. Hopefully I will be here tonight to do a live watch along so you guys can come through and rock out with your boy for real. We're gonna continue this joint on and shit. So, but look, man, and like another thing that's really bothering me is that like this is one of those games that Dallas is set up to lose because of the fact that you got all these brand new pieces and you coming through with all this enthusiasm, and then the first 2-3 plays of the game, Geno Smith throws a bomb. You know what I'm saying? Now we just sitting here looking stupid again. So just let's not make that happen. Let's not have that happen. You feel me? Let's not have that happen at all. I need you to see me. You see me? You understand what I'm saying? Let's not do that at all. Let's go out there as focused, beat the teams that we're supposed to beat, so we can get ready for the teams that we got to play coming in the near future. Next game after this is the Eagles. Next game after that is Thanksgiving against the Chiefs. And I believe the next game after that is the Lions. So you got some motherfuckers coming up. Even the Chargers, because with all that being said about how the Chargers wasn't being able to protect, bro, we haven't been able to get no pressure all year. So who's to say that Dallas going to get any consistent pressure against a bad offensive line? But that's way down the line. But I'm just making points, you know what I'm saying, as I think about it. We'll continue to move on and shit because I got to, man, listen. Right? So they said, Bleacher Report had recently put out that Lamar Jackson has been voted the most overrated player in the NFL. And that pissed me the fuck off. Because now, I don't know if they're saying the most overrated quarterback or the most overrated player, but either or. I can name you 2 or 3 quarterbacks that's supposed to be elite quarterbacks that's more overrated than Lamar Jackson. Like, if y'all really want to have that conversation, I'm saying this right now out on the motherfucking limb. Hold up, do I have any of my shit? Because I need y'all to understand me. I'm saying that right now out on the motherfucking limb that Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback in every aspect of the fucking game than Josh Allen, than motherfucking Joe Burrow. You hear me? You hear me? He's better. He's a better quarterback than he is. And y'all saying that he's more overrated. I don't care how you feel personally about Lamar Jackson. Go look at this motherfucker stats. And then understand that Lamar Jackson didn't always have the pieces that he has around him, nigga. Y'all trying to make it seem like just because he got Derrick Henry right now, and because he got an old DeAndre Hopkins right now, and because he got Zay Flowers right now, that he had these motherfuckers his whole career. Let's not be mistaken that he was winning 12, 13 games, MVPs, when the main number one target that he had was Mark Andrews. Let's be 100% clear. Y'all giving these other people all this love and reverence because of that same reason. Oh, we gave Josh Allen the MVP last year because of the things that he was able to do with the cast that he had. And Lamar did that shit, been doing that shit his whole career. So y'all miss me with this bullshit talking about that he's the most overrated quarterback or the most overrated player in the league. When a motherfucker in this same conference is more overrated than him. In my humble opinion, motherfucker in this same division is more overrated than him. He can't even stay on the field and y'all giving that motherfucker more praise than a 2-time MVP. Oh, he been to a Super Bowl. Yeah, who gives a fuck when that shit was 5-6 years ago? And you haven't been healthy since. Y'all gotta stop this bullshit, bro. Let's keep it a bean. Y'all voted that man, goddamn, the most overrated player because he's the best quarterback not named Patrick Mahomes, and y'all scared to admit it. Oh, he don't have no Super Bowl appearance. He don't have this, that, and the third. Who the fuck do that y'all naming? Y'all naming Joe Burrow. He don't have no MVPs. He don't even have a fucking all-pro. At least not a first team. Lamar been first team all-pro at least 2 times. At least 2 times. What are y'all talking about? What are y'all talking about? Josh Allen. Oh, Lamar ain't never been this, that, and the third. Josh Allen ain't never been no fucking Super Bowl. And he got one MVP. At least you could say, and then that one MVP belongs to fucking Lamar Jackson. So it's like, come on, bro. Y'all, we really gonna do this? Are we really gonna do this? Like, I'm not here to play around with y'all. What my boy said, I ain't here to play around with y'all, god damn it. Like, what type of timing you on? Going to say that he's the most overrated player or the most overrated quarterback in the NFL? When I just gave you two, Justin Herbert is way more overrated than him. Like I said, Josh Allen is way more overrated than him. Baker Mayfield is way more overrated than him. Listen. I'm trying not to spaz, and I dare anybody. I'll go live again later on to debate anybody on this topic. I dare anybody. You come to me, anybody that's not named Patrick Mahomes, and say that they're a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. Stop it. Stop it. Give that man the respect that he deserves. Teams don't have success in the playoffs, and you blame the quarterback. Understandable. Quarterback get all the praise and all that shit. I'm a Cowboy fan. We go through it every year. Dak is the most scrutinized quarterback in the league. But when it comes to quarterback play, I mean, career-wise, let's just talk about it. Lamar Jackson has a better completion percentage than Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson has more yards passing than Josh Allen. He has a better touchdown to interception ratio than Josh Allen. He runs the ball at a more efficient rate than Josh Allen. Josh Allen has more rushing touchdowns because, the same thing that you can say about Jalen Hurts when it comes to that touch push. But we got to stop this shit, bro. Just because you like a 6'5" white quarterback that can throw the ball a mile, you think that nigga is great. We go through this shit every year. I was arguing with motherfuckers when Carson Wentz was hot. Kept trying to tell y'all he wasn't even the best quarterback in his draft class. He was 3 behind Jared Goff and Dak Prescott. Y'all miss me with that bullshit, bro. Y'all miss me with that bullshit when it comes to Lamar Jackson, for real. I really feel like y'all being disrespectful when it's deliberate. There's no quarterback in the league that you're going to say is better than him besides Patrick Mahomes. That's the only person that you could say, in my opinion, that's definitively, you know what I'm trying to say, better than goddamn Lamar Jackson. Fuck is y'all talking about? Yo? Bleacher Report out here tripping. And you know what? Some shit like, oh, it was our voters and we had that. I don't give a fuck. Y'all put the poll out there. Y'all bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And y'all people was bullshit. Whoever followed y'all is bullshit and say that Lamar Jackson is the most overrated player or quarterback in the league. You know what I'm saying? When I think there is mad other motherfuckers. Let's not forget that Tua is making $55 million and he's leading the league in interceptions. That's not, like I said, Josh Allen had 6 touchdowns total this past week, and they needed every single one of them. Shout out to him, he did his thing. But let's not act like career-wise, Lamar Jackson ain't spanking this motherfucker in almost every statistical category. You line up their MVP seasons next to each other. You line up Lamar Jackson's weakest MVP season to Josh Allen's MVP season, and Lamar still wiping that motherfucker down. Like, y'all niggas stupid. Like, get out of my face with that bullshit, bro. Get out of my face with that bullshit. Shout out to Lamar Jackson, man. For real. Y'all fuckers weird, bro. We about to get not the game of the week. Not the game of the week. Shit. We about to get into the motherfucking player of the week, y'all. We about to get into the goddamn player of the week. You feel me? Let's go head over to this goddamn player of the week. Hold up, because for some reason Stone Cold is playing. All right, bet. So our player of the week is Bryce Young. So it's so funny. I wanted to give this player of the week, like I said, to Josh Allen. But when you have a player that came out now for some reason, no, I got it right. All right, so we got, when you have a player that come out and he threw the ball 45 times for 448 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a big overtime victory against a divisional opponent, right? Now I know y'all gonna be like, oh, he played the look at the fucking numbers, boy. Look at the numbers. I think he was like 32 or 30 something of 45. So he was between 60 and 70% completion percentage. Like, oh my goodness. 148 yards, 3 tutties, and 0 turnovers. Give Bryce Young some respect. He balled out this week. He deserved all the credit in the world. That's why he's our first down player of the week. It's funny because, like I said, I wanted to give this shit to Josh Allen initially. Like I said, motherfucker had 6 touchdowns if you got 6 touchdowns, you probably going to fuck around and win player of the week. For this man to cause those 2 turnovers, we looking at this shit. Those 2 turnovers, and for goddamn my boy name Bryce Young to have goddamn 45 attempts and no turnovers with 3 tutties. Oh yeah, we're gonna give him that. We're gonna give him that. Shout out to Bryce Young for doing what he did, how he did it against the team that he did it against, because it's still a divisional team. This is the same team that they beat 32-0, I think week 2 or week 3. And now, you know what I'm saying, you go into overtime and you beat them 30-27. So it's not like that was the same team that you played in week 2 or 3. But them boys out there was balling. That was a fun game. I think that Bryce Young showed that he's ready to take that next step. And I think we got to start paying a little bit more attention to him. I really think we got to start paying a little bit more attention to him. And honestly, we might have to pay a little bit more attention to this goddamn Carolina team. Defense is really solid. You know what I'm saying? Defense is really solid. Offense is pretty solid, especially when they got that running game going. So we might have to pay attention to this Carolina team. Of course, I'm not talking about this year or Super Bowl type shit, but I'm talking about to come in the future. This is a young squad, so we might have to really start paying attention to those boys. Look like they working some shit out. It look like Bryce Young has finally worked some shit out. The game has finally slowed down for him, and I remember saying this shit around this time last year about Bryce and shit. So, but this year I feel like he's been more consistent throughout the year. Even in the games where he don't have huge numbers, he's not doing dumb shit, or he's not consistently doing dumb shit to put the team in a fucked up position and shit. So I think that he's really growing as a quarterback, as a playmaker, and he's really shining now in that offense, especially when they got the receivers like T-Mac and Leggett, big body receivers that he can just trust to throw some shit up to when they can go get it and shit. So those boys look good out there. Like I said, the running game is a quarterback's best friend in any system with anybody. So he's really benefiting from that. Shout out to bro for being our first hit, first down player of the week, Bryce Young. And I remember when I was setting this shit up, I don't know if I gave him the first hit, first down player of the week before, but I feel like this is his second time winning it. And he might be the first ever, and I think I said this shit before too. I feel like deja vu. But he might be the first ever player to win first hit, first down player of the week twice. The other player that was actually in the running too this week was goddamn Myles Garrett. And if they would have won that game, I was making Myles Garrett the player of the week this week, because you don't get 3 sacks in the first half. I think he had 3 or 4 sacks total. Might have even had 5 again. This man is unstoppable against anybody. Like, for real. But you don't have 3 sacks in the first half and not be considered, at least, right? But they did end up taking that L. So, we had to go somewhere else. We basically had to pivot somewhere else. And I think that we made a great pivot with Bryce Young earning the rights to be called first hit, first down player of the week. You feel me? So that is our show, y'all. I think this was a dope ass show. I think that you motherfuckers got to stop playing with Lamar Jackson name. Feel me? I think when it comes down to Lamar Jackson versus any other quarterback in the league, the only person you can have that conversation with about is Patrick Mahomes. Everybody else, y'all need to just be quiet and mind y'all goddamn business. For real. That's just my opinion, my humble opinion. Of course, you guys let me know what y'all think down below. I'm gonna holler at you guys later. I'll see you guys hopefully tonight for the Cowboys game. With that being said, y'all remember to stay fried, my friends. We are gone.